Welcome to the Digital Enterprise Society podcast, addressing all aspects of the digital enterprise, inspiring connection without boundaries and creation without limits. Thank you for tuning in. Here are your hosts, Thom Singer and Craig Brown.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Digital Enterprise Society podcast. Thank you so much for selecting this podcast. There are so many out there to choose from, but this is the show that was designed to be a resource for those who work in and around PLM. The Digital Enterprise Society is a forum for the exchange of ideas surrounding the tools, processes, and practices used across the product lifecycle. To learn more, visit digitalenterprisesociety.org. My name is Thom Singer, and I have the honor to co-host this show every single week with Craig Brown. However, once a month or so, I do an episode where Craig's not here, where I interview an expert on careers so that we can give you ideas and thoughts and tips on how you can grow your career regardless of where you are and where you want to go. So I miss Craig on days that he's not with me here on the Digital Enterprise Society, but I soldier on and we go forward without Craig for this episode. But the truth is, every single week, Craig and I try to bring to this podcast really interesting interviews and ideas that are going to help you advance your career. And that's what we're doing today, because I am joined by Liz Molher. Now, she has over 20 years as a career coach and has pivoted now to working as an executive coach. And we're going to find out what the difference is when we get into talking. What she does is she helps people go from where they are to where they want to be in their careers. She helps them look at what they like to do, what they want to do, and then she helps them formulate the decisions they need to make in their life to be able to thrive in their careers. So Liz, welcome to the Digital Enterprise Society podcast.
Thank you, Thom. I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
Oh, and I'm so excited to talk to you. Liz and I have some mutual friends, and everybody told me, oh my gosh, you have to interview her if you're looking for career advice for the people who are involved with Digital Enterprise Society. So Liz, I want to start off. You've spent 20 years calling yourself a career coach, and now you've made this pivot because now you're an executive coach. What's the difference?
That's a great question, because I like to tell people that I was active in coaching before coaching was really a thing. And I think the way that started was you grow up in Madison, Wisconsin, you get an undergrad in psychology, and what do you do with an undergrad? You go to get your graduate degree. So I've got a master's degree in vocational evaluation, testing, and assessments, which is a large, long term for basically rehabilitation, psychology, and counseling people. And I very quickly realized that I liked helping healthy people make healthy decisions. And a lot of that revolved around what are they going to do with their lives and how are they going to be productive? So I started doing career development and career coaching for colleges, for universities, and then I did some programs with the government. And, then I got picked up to work with lawyers, did career coaching for a lot of lawyers, and did it for the entertainment world, living in Los Angeles. And then I realized, this coaching is a lot like coaching executives. So in the last 2 or 3 years, I started going back to figure out the whole coaching world. And what's the difference between counseling and coaching? And what's the difference between career coaching and executive coaching? And I found that really what I do is I do executive coaching because it's not just about finding a job. It's about creating a career and creating a path. And so now I work with a lot of executives that are in transition. Some of them are just trying to work their way up the corporate ladder. So they're trying to bust through the glass ceiling. They're trying to get a promotion, trying to get a raise, trying to start a company, a lot of sole entrepreneurs. So it's a lot more than resume writing and interviewing.
Right. No, and I think that's fascinating, because I think a lot of people are looking for what is the path, right? It's not just how do I find another job? It's where do I want to be, where I'm going to be fulfilled and challenged and have all those pieces to a career. And this time of year, being January 2022, I think there's a lot of people who are reassessing, where am I and where do I want to go? Let's face it, the last couple of years have been, if nothing else, they've been interesting. And in a lot of ways, they've been challenging. And now we're going through this whole thing that they're calling the Great Resignation. Record numbers of people are leaving their jobs, some before they even have another job lined up. And so with all of that going on, and this being the beginning of the year, I thought it would be fun to talk to you about what is going on in our society around work. How has the pandemic influenced it, and what should people be watching? So let's just start with that. What's happened the last couple of years, and why do we have a Great Resignation?
That's a great question. And the Great Resignation is just, it's the buzz term and it's just around us everywhere. And I think you're spot on to say it used to be New Year's resolution, get a new job. Now it's New Year's resolution on top of this whole sort of, massive pandemic. And so in the last couple of years, people have had to reevaluate their lives and really kind of take two steps back and go, what's important to me? And the fact that kids were homeschooled, and I don't know about you, but having college kids flip and come back home has made us really kind of look at what's important. And so I think that the society as a whole is starting to really reevaluate how they want to spend their time and what they want to be doing. And so we've got more people than normal rethinking, what's their future. And I could die tomorrow, because I think the fact that COVID has really put life and death, front and center. And when we lose someone that's close to us, we sort of wonder, what's my legacy? What am I going to do? And if I'm going to live another 30 years, am I going to retire? How am I going to give back? So it's definitely a hot topic for switching careers.
So what are you seeing with the clients who are coming to you? What's sort of their motivation to even hire an executive coach? What gets people to say, better call Liz?
That's a great question. I would say one of the biggest themes that I've had, not just in the last 2 years, but since I started pivoting to more executive coaching, is people come to me and they're like, I need work-life balance. Especially when I work with women, they get to a point where they are overwhelmed. They're trying to take care of things at home. They're trying to be a good spouse. They're trying to raise their kids. They're trying to keep their career going forward. And they say to me, I'm at burnout. I'm at breakpoint. And a lot of my clients come to me at breakpoint and they say, I'm either going to quit or get fired because I can't keep doing everything. And so a lot of what I do is I help my clients really take two steps back and reevaluate all aspects of their life, not just their career, but how's everything going? What are their relationships like? What's their involvement in their community? What are they doing for education and learning? How are they taking care of themselves so that they can go forward strongly in all different facets of life?
So what are some things people can do before they get to burnout or break point? What are some things people can do to kind of take a breath and step back? Because I know I talk to a lot of the people who listen to the show, and a lot of them get to that break point. What can they do to maybe put the brakes on before they get to the edge?
That's a great question. So I always tell my clients, please don't quit. Please don't get to a point that you get fired. Let's just slow things down. And one of the first exercises that I'll recommend if somebody's listening in and they're at that potential break point is take a few minutes and start a list of what you really like about the job. Not what you love about the job, but what do you like about the job? What gets you excited? What projects do you like? What did you like when you started that job or when you got into that industry or into that field? And if they say, I can't think of anything, I say, all right, start the list of what you hate. Start the list what you don't like. Start to list your challenges. Because if you take a look and you inventory what you don't like, sometimes it can help trigger what you want more of. And the number one reason that many of my clients will come to me and I'll break it all down is they'll say to me, I have a bad boss. And I acknowledge that. And I have a handful of Lizisms that I like to give my clients because I want to make things simple as I'm coaching them. So one of my Lizisms is that people don't quit companies, they quit bosses, they quit people. So if you set aside the person and the challenges and difficult working relationships, and you ask them, well, what do you like about the job? What do you like? What's going well? We get a foundation that they can take forward into their next career, into their next job.
So I think that's very fascinating because I get hired by a lot of companies to come in and talk to their teams about, human engagement, both their networks inside the company and outside the company, and building that culture and establishing trust and accountability. And the truth is, most companies don't want you to be unhappy. They don't want you to get to the breaking point. The company itself doesn't want you to quit. So, do sometimes people forget that and they think it's me versus the company? What can they do to make sure that their, one bad boss doesn't spoil the whole apple barrel?
That's a great question. And I also get brought in by companies to speak. And so before I show up to speak, I tell bosses, I say, we're going to open up lines of communication. And that's what one of my speaking topics is how to talk to your boss, how to present to your boss that list, that wonderful plus side list. So your boss knows this is what I love about the company. This is what I love about the job. This is where I think my strengths are. However, dear boss who wants to support me, these are some of my issues of concern. here's some areas that I think we're slacking off on, or here's some areas that are not my forte. And so I always coach my clients to open up these lines of communication. First, internally, get it out of your head, put it on paper so that you can kind of look at what's going well in addition to what's not going well. And then be prepared to start to communicate that and maybe offer to take on projects that are in that plus category where you think the company needs to spend more time on this, this, and this, or delegate something that you don't like to do to somebody else who does like to do it. And the only way to find that out is to start talking to people. You know, who in your department likes to do some of the things that you don't like to do, and maybe you can make a trade.
Interesting. So have you seen in the years of your career coaching and now executive coaching, have you seen people, maybe they weren't at the breaking point, but they could see it. It was right over there, who thought, I have to change jobs. I got to go get a new job, who did some of this work, who were able to sort of resurrect a great situation right where they were inside the company they're already at?
I see it a lot. And I always tell my clients, even if you're at breakpoint and you're going to leave your company, let's make your company situation better before you leave. Let's leave on a high note. So, for example, I was working with a lawyer once, and he had 2 small children. And he said he was done being the rainmaker. He was done burning the candle at both ends. He was done having to go into the office early to get the briefs ready. And then he was tired of entertaining the clients after work to get his rainmaking of more clients into the law firm. And he said, you know, I've got these 2 small children. I want to be able to take them to school. I want to be able to have dinner and help them with their homework. I can't keep doing it all. And I said, well, that's great. So what part of the work do you like? And he said, I really like being in the office. I like gathering the materials. I like doing all the research. I can do that late at night. I just don't have that bandwidth to entertain the clients and be out. And I said, well, look around your law firm and see if there isn't somebody who can take on some of that entertaining, some of that other stuff to do. And he was like, no, there's nobody else that can do it. And I said, well, let's just put that at the back of your mind and just be open to exploring that as a possibility. And each week I kind of checked in with him. How are things at work? Are you bonding with anybody else at work? Is there anybody you can delegate to? And he was like, I don't know. I think I need to find another firm. I need to go somewhere else. And sure enough, 3-4 weeks into it, he texted me and said, we need to talk. I have good news. And I got him on the phone and he said, this is great news. One of the guys in my office is getting divorced. And I was like, well, that's not good news. He goes, no, you don't understand. He's single. All of his nights are free. He wants to go out and entertain clients. He wants to take clients out to dinner. So I am going to pass all of my client introductions to him, especially the single ones, and let him go wine and dine the clients. And I'm going to take on a little more of his office work. And it became this win-win situation. That's one story.
That's a great example. That's a great example. So if people are at the point where they need to make a change, maybe inside the company they're in, or maybe it means going out and doing something different, how do people actually figure out what they want to do next? If they're thinking about a pivot, how do they even know what to pivot towards?
That's a great question. And so many of my clients come to me and they're like, I have no idea what I want to do. I know that I don't want to do this, but I don't know what else is out there. And so what I want to break down is, who are they? So I kind of break my executive coaching into 3 phases. Phase 1, I tell them, is all about them, helping them realize their potential, realize what they bring to the table. So I will go through a coaching process of really kind of getting to know who they are. And I want to know where they're from. What did their parents do? What sort of hobbies and interests did they have, in high school or in college? Statistically, so many of us are not doing what we studied for in college, and yet it's a part of who we are. So that first phase is all about them. The second phase is the networking, because another one of my Lizisms, networking is 1 letter away from not working. So I spend a lot of time teaching my clients how to network and where to network. And nowadays it's all on Zoom. It's through LinkedIn. It's using the technology that we have. It's reaching out and making those connections. And then that third and final phase is putting things together, whether that means updating a resume, updating their LinkedIn. But I have all the fun at the very, very beginning, where I help them put together a blueprint so they can really figure out, what do they like? What are their interests? What are their core values? What's their personality like? What are they bringing to the table? And helping them figure out who they are.
So you bring up an interesting thing, and that is how part of the networking now is involved with sort of online networking. Obviously, there's a lot of groups that had to pivot their conferences to this virtual world, but there's also the sort of standard networking tools. And you said LinkedIn. And I know because some of the people who work as engineers in tech companies and who work around software and other things like that, a lot of them sort of roll their eyes at the whole LinkedIn thing. So why do you think it's important to have a viable, well filled out LinkedIn profile, especially if you're not looking for a job, right? They're like, I got a job. Why would I have a LinkedIn profile? Or why would I update it? Or why would I make it robust?
That's a great question. And LinkedIn is sort of a mystery, like what's going on LinkedIn. And let me first put the caveat out there that there's no one way to pivot careers. And there's no one way to get a job. There's no two people alike. And so actually not everybody does need a LinkedIn. I work with a lot of clients that do not have LinkedIn. I work with a lot of clients in entertainment. They don't want to have a LinkedIn. They don't want to be that transparent. I work with a lot of clients that are service professionals, the plumbers, the guys that are going to put the flooring in my new master bathroom. They are not on LinkedIn. So it's not everybody has to have LinkedIn. However, with COVID in the last 2 years, the opportunities to network face-to-face, IRL, in real life, are less and less and less. So what we have is LinkedIn has almost replaced the resume. Because when somebody's out networking or looking for a job and you don't know this person very well, you're just going to Google them because you want to know, is this person who they say they are? What's their online digital footprint? And I want to get to know who this person is. And I want to get a little bit of a solid background. Where did they go to college? Where did they work? What are they up to? Even like, what do they look like? What are they interested in? What are they posting about? So LinkedIn has become sort of a validation of who you are. And so for some people who are out looking for work, I tell them it's a bit of a passive job search. We can go ahead and put some information on there. But if you're looking for work, it's still about the hidden job market. So it's a combination of both.
So I also work for an executive search firm doing business development for executives. And one of the things that I've learned in my time doing that is that recruiters use LinkedIn more than anything else. It used to be recruiters would network to find those core hub people in an industry or in a city. Now they use LinkedIn and they do searches to find the people. So if you work in digital manufacturing and you have some sort of a special job, do you think it's important that you list out sort of those details, those keywords in your LinkedIn? Because do you think that it helps recruiters find you?
It absolutely does. And you hit the nail on the head when you said keywords, because sometimes it's not even the recruiter that's reaching out. It's the robot that the computer has done a formula for. And the recruiter says, I need somebody with management, leadership, software, these skills, this protocol. And they're going to go through LinkedIn and they're going to scrub it. And then whichever people rise to the top, that's who the recruiter is going to reach out to. Right. So it is definitely in their best interest to put in as much information as possible.
So for those of you listening, somewhere in your LinkedIn profile, once or more than once, you probably should use the terms product lifecycle management and PLM, because we don't know what the robot is going to be looking for if they're searching for somebody with experience in that area in digital manufacturing tools. So you probably want to make sure you find ways to phrase in all the different things, because like she said, it could be a search done by a bot.
Right. And you want to put in digital, enterprise, society. You want to let people know that you're in with the cool kids. So if you want to hire, if I'm a manager, if I'm the boss and I'm looking to hire somebody that's got this skill set, I'm going to put in those keywords and then I'm going to see if they're the real deal. Are they actually active LinkedIn participants? Are they sharing? Are they commenting? Are they following? How do they participate in their own career?
All right, now let's get to the hard part. Somebody has decided to make that move, maybe internally, maybe externally. They've found the opportunity. They know what they want to do, and that opportunity has been matched with them. How does someone go about interviewing for a new job in this modern world?
Yes, the preparation for the interview. So I talk about this as being sort of 3 stages to be prepared for the interview. And I talk about stage 1 being you confident about who you are. And so you've got to be sort of lined up with what exactly are you looking for? And I call that the $1 million question. What exactly are you looking for? And once you sort of identify that this job posting that you're going to interview is for what you're looking for, phase 2 is I would do some research. I would say research all of the people you're going to interview, read their LinkedIns. I would research about the company that you're interviewing at, not just the company's homepage, but I want to know about press releases with this company. I want to know what else is going on in the industry. I even coach people, research their competition. If you're interviewing at Marriott hotels, I'd also research the Hyatt, go with both, what do I know about this industry as a whole? And how does the company I'm interviewing with stack up with the competition? And now we live in this online world where research is at our fingertips. So there's no excuse to not be able to Google and find out who your potential boss might be. You may not be interviewing with them. You may be interviewing with HR, but Google around a little bit. Who's the person in charge of digital enterprise? Who's the person in charge, or who would I be reporting to? So it's about, are you ready? And what do you know about yourself? What do you bring to the table? And then the second phase is that research phase. And then the third phase is fitting it all together.
And how do we fit it all together? What happens when we get into the interview? Are there certain things you need to be thinking about when you're asked questions? Are there certain ways to answer questions?
Yes. So I coach my clients to keep things simple. As long as they're prepared with their own success stories, which I can pull out of clients as I'm talking with them about, accomplishments and awards and, what situations at their work did they kind of shine and what success stories do they have? And then I tell them there's only 2 questions that they need to be rehearsed and ready to answer in an interview.
And what are those? No, tell us now, Liz. What are the 2 questions?
It's so simple. You won't believe it. The first question is, be ready to answer the question. So tell me about yourself. In an interview, they want to know, who are you? Tell me something we don't know. Tell me something more than what's on your resume. Tell us something more than what's on your LinkedIn. They want to know who you are. What's important to you? What are your core values? What are you really interested in? So your ability to introduce yourself so you can quickly establish that get to know me, get to like me, get to trust me. The sooner we can do that in answering that question, so tell me about yourself, the better. The second question you need to be ready to answer is, why should we hire you? And it's kind of a 2-part question because you've got to answer it in your own mind. Why do I want this job? But not just what you're going to get out of it, what you're going to deliver, that you can hit the ground running, that you understand what they're looking for. And that's why another one of my Lizisms is that $1 million question. What exactly are you looking for? And as a client that works with me, I coach my clients to go into what I call the backdoor approach, which is to find out from somebody working inside the company, what exactly are they looking for before you get to the interview? Do your research, do your homework, see if you can connect with someone already working there. You know they have a job opening. You might even have a job posting. And the job posting might be 2 or 3 pages long about what technology and what software and what, digital manufacturing stuff they need to know. But the curiosity is, what exactly are they looking for? And honestly, companies will tell you.
I was just going to say, if you can find the right person, they'll usually tell you what their company wants because it's in their best interest that the company hires people who can deliver it.
Absolutely. And that's what I coach my clients to figure out.
All right, Liz, it's the early part of the year. There's a lot of people who are thinking forward about maybe making these types of changes. What's one more little tidbit, one more little tip that you think everyone needs to know if they're looking to make a job change?
The one little tip. This is another one of my Lizisms. This is the number one reason that you will be hired. This is the number one thing you should be looking for. This is also the number one reason people get fired. So it's a very simple little tip because it's so simple. This is what you're looking for, and this is what the bosses are looking for. And I tell my clients, it's all about the fit, F-I-T. And whose job is it? Who's responsible for choosing where you go to work? You are.
You are. It's your choice. We still work we still live in a free country. You get to choose where you work.
Exactly. And in this Great Resignation, I'm having so much fun executive coaching because when clients work with me, I tell them expect multiple offers because I'm going to get you out there and you're going to interview them and you're going to find out, are they really the best place to work? Is this really the best company? Because if one company offers you a job, you should be interviewing at 2 or 3 others because they all need good, smart, quality people. And you've got to ask yourself, what am I good at? What am I smart about? What can I do? What would be a good fit for me? And then get out there and do some research on who's out there in the world that needs someone like me. And then you go in the back door. Maybe they're not even advertising. They're not even posting the job. But you approach them and you say, hey, I might be a good fit to help you with this. That's my biggest tip of the day is figure out the fit.
That's awesome. So Liz, this has been delightful. If somebody's listening and they need to find more about Liz Molher, how do they find you?
I'm pretty transparent on the internet. It's Liz Molher, and that's Mohler. And so my website is lizmolher.com. My son made my website, so it's a little obsolete. He's now moved on to create NFTs and do all sorts of fun art stuff. But I'm also on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great place to find me. And I do a lot of seminars and workshops, and some of those are recorded and they're on YouTube. So the best thing to do is to just call me. I think I even put my cell phone on my LinkedIn, and they can email me at mrslizmolher.com. So I am definitely around and able to help. And if I can't help, I can possibly recommend someone who can.
Awesome. Well, Liz, thank you for being a guest here on the Digital Enterprise Society podcast. And thank you to everybody who tuned in and listened. You know, we try to bring to this podcast interesting interviews that are going to help you advance your career. And I think today, that's what we did. I want you to join us here every single week for more thoughts, ideas, and information in and around careers in product lifecycle management. The Digital Enterprise Society is the place for the exchange of ideas around digital manufacturing tools. Go check us out right now at digitalenterprisesociety.org.
You've been listening to the Digital Enterprise Society podcast. Learn more about what you heard here today at digitalenterprisesociety.org. Join us again next week for more connection without boundaries and creation without limits.